This year's coaching carousel was already going to be wild. We already have 7 Power 4 openings right now, including a couple massive jobs in Penn State and Florida. But we just got the biggest bombshell dropped on us. LSU just fired head coach Brian Kelly after 4 seasons on the job. But all of a sudden, LSU is the biggest job opening in college football, in my opinion, right now. So we're going to go over what went wrong in the Brian Kelly era at LSU, how good of a job LSU is in today's day and age of college football, and of course, 5 candidates that could be the next LSU head coach. But Brian Kelly just fired late last night as LSU's head coach. Again, 4 seasons on the job there, a 34-14 record overall. At LSU, he was 5-3 this year. They just lost in embarrassing fashion at home to third-ranked Texas A&M. 49-25 was the final score of that game. A game actually that LSU was winning at halftime, and then A&M completely took over in the second half of that game. All of a sudden now, it's the second biggest buyout in college football history, of course, only trailing Jimbo Fisher at Texas A&M, just over $53 million buyout. But the two sides apparently are negotiating that buyout right now. Brian Kelly is a coach that lost at least three games in all 4 of his seasons at LSU, and honestly, I think it was time for him for LSU to move on from him as the head coach. They never made the college football playoff under Brian Kelly in his 4 years as head coach. And of course, they won't make it this year already with 3 losses. Brian Kelly officially now is a crazy stat. Brian Kelly is the first LSU coach in the 21st century that did not win a national title during his tenure there. Nick Saban did it. Les Miles did it. Ed Orgeron did it. Brian Kelly now is the first coach this century that did not win a national title at LSU, which just shows really how good of a program LSU actually is. Missing a playoff, whether it be a 4-team playoff or now even especially a 12-team college football playoff, missing a playoff 4 years in a row at LSU is unacceptable. This is a program that should be competing for at least bare minimum a spot in the 12-team playoff every single year. So missing it 4 years in a row, I get why LSU wanted to move on. And it seemed like that culture at LSU was getting a little bit toxic with Brian Kelly there too. So it makes sense why they wanted to move on from him as well. And it felt like they wasted some incredible offenses over the last few years. Obviously, the ones with Jaden Daniels and Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr., Will Campbell at left tackle. We're talking about first-round picks and right now current NFL stars and all of those players. But the defense held them back, specifically the secondary held them back. And then all of a sudden this year, they rebuilt that secondary. Guys like Mansour Delane and A.J. Halsey in that secondary. And LSU's got a great secondary right now. But ironically, it's the offense holding back LSU right now, right? They have Garrett Nussmeier, but not much else in that offense. The offensive line is really struggling right now after losing 4 starters from last year's team. They have no run game to speak of either. So you had the offense a few years ago to make a national title run, but not the defense. Now you have the defense, but not the offense. They just can never put it together in the Brian Kelly era. Right now, Frank Wilson, who is, I believe, the running backs head coach and the assistant head coach, he will now serve as the interim head coach for the rest of the season. Let's dive into now how good of a job LSU actually is. I think easily, this is the best job on the market right now. Even with Penn State, even with Florida, even with any more openings that could come, I think LSU will be the biggest job opening that we have in what should be an all-time coaching carousel. I think LSU is a top 5 job in college football, and you could argue even higher than top 5 right now, too. I mentioned before the 3 coaches before Brian Kelly all won a national title while at LSU. You have endless resources at LSU, too. The Athletic this past summer valued LSU at $1.23 billion, which places it 10th nationally and the highest among all programs with an opening right now, higher than Penn State and higher than Florida as well. LSU obviously is in a recruiting hotbed down there in Louisiana. They have signed a top 10 recruiting class in each of the last 3 years. Right now, LSU has the number 1 player in the class of 2026 committed to them, and Lamar Brown, who could play offensive line or defensive line. It remains to be seen if he'll stay committed to LSU with the news of Brian Kelly getting fired. Maybe he will. He's from Louisiana, but still, it shows how good of a job you could do at LSU in recruiting-wise. They have a deep coaching staff. They brought in one of the best transfer portal classes this year. all the resources are there for LSU to be a consistent national title contender with the right head coach. This job is so powerful. The governor of Louisiana, who is Jeff Landry, he was involved in the decision to fire Brian Kelly. So this is a very, very powerful job in college football. Now, the athletic director, Scott Woodward, was the AD at Texas A&M. He has made plenty of splash hires in the past. He was the AD that convinced Jimbo Fisher, a national title-winning head coach at Florida State, to leave Florida State for Texas A&M. He, of course, convinced Brian Kelly to leave Notre Dame for LSU as well. Both of those, of course, did not work, but he could be looking for another splash hire this year too. So who are some of the top candidates that could replace Brian Kelly at LSU? The first one I want to name right now, and this guy has been linked to Florida and to Penn State, and I always thought why I didn't mention him in those videos is because I never thought it was a realistic possibility because, simply put, his current job, in my opinion, is better than Florida and Penn State. This is a job he might be interested in. That's Marcus Freeman, the Notre Dame head coach right now. LSU, of course, plucked away the last Notre Dame head coach in Brian Kelly. Maybe, just maybe, they could do the same this time with Marcus Freeman. I think it would be pretty ironic, too, if Marcus Freeman once again replaced Brian Kelly as head coach. He led Notre Dame last year, Marcus Freeman did, to a 14-2 record and an appearance in the national title game. The Fighting Irish right now are 5-2 this year. They seem poised for another playoff run as long as they can win their last 5 games. They should, if you look at their schedule right now. Marcus Freeman has signed a top 15 recruiting class in every year at Notre Dame, and Notre Dame is not the easiest school to recruit at either with their academic requirements. So at LSU, he would have fewer restrictions, so he could even do better at LSU recruiting-wise than he can currently in South Bend. He also could bring offensive coordinator Mike Denbrock with him, and of course, Mike Denbrock was the LSU offensive coordinator when Jaden Daniels won a Heisman Trophy and the LSU had the best offense in the country. So Mike Denbrock, I know Marcus Freeman's a defensive guy. Mike Denbrock could follow Marcus Freeman, goes from LSU to Notre Dame. Maybe he could go back to LSU with Marcus Freeman if he took that job. Freeman, again, like I mentioned before, has been linked to the other openings right now. I don't think it's worth it for him to even look at Florida or Penn State. I do think it might be worth taking the call for LSU. Now, the one problem for LSU and why many coaches could have this problem for LSU, Notre Dame could make the playoff and probably should make the playoff this year. That could complicate the timeline for the Tigers and how they want to make a hire. They probably want to make a hire sometime in late November, December, early December probably. Notre Dame could be playing until late January, right? So it's very complicated, and we'll see what they do with the hire. But Marcus Freeman, I think, would be the first call I would make if I was LSU right now. Another guy, and of course, this guy has been linked to the Florida job before. He's a favorite for that Florida job. Maybe he's a new favorite right now for the LSU job. It's, of course, Lane Kiffin, the head coach at Ole Miss right now. He is off to a 7-1 start. Ole Miss is number 7 in the country. If Ole Miss wins 10 games this year, which seems very, very likely if you look at their schedule right now, it'll be their 4th 10-win season in the last 5 years under Lane Kiffin. They only had 4 10-win seasons since 1962. Before this. So Lane Kiffin has been one of the best coaches Ole Miss has ever had at that program. They seem likely to make the playoff this year as long as they win 3 of their final 4 games, and they should. If you look at their schedule, they play South Carolina, they play Florida, they play Mississippi State. I believe they play the Citadel as well. So they should win at least all 4 of those games, or at least I should say 3 of those 4 games, probably all 4 of those games too. If they make the playoff this year, it will be their first playoff appearance in program history. They won 11 games last year, which was the most in program history. They could have won even more this season. If he's open to the Florida job, which seems like some reports say he might be open to that job, he would definitely be open to this LSU job right now. But again, like Marcus Freeman, he could be coaching deep into December and January, which may mess up LSU's timeline for this right now. If LSU wants to stay in state and take a coach that is a rising star right now, maybe go with John Sumrall, the Tulane head coach right now. He's a proven winner at Troy and Tulane. In his only 2 years as Troy's head coach, he was a combined 23-4 as the head coach of the Trojans. His 2 years at Troy were 2 of the 3 best years in program history for the Trojans. They finished number 19 in 2022, the only time ever that Troy finished a season ranked. And in the 2 years since he left Troy, Troy's a combined 9-10 right now. So again, 23-4 in his 2 years there. They're 9-10 in the 2 years since he left that program. He left for Tulane, which of course is in Louisiana, and he went 9-5 in his first year as Tulane's head coach. Tulane is off to a 6-1 start this year, with their only loss coming to a top 10 team in, of course, Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss. The Green Wave right now in DraftKings Sportsbook are the current betting favorite to represent the Group of Five in the college football playoff. I actually have Tulane right now as the highest ranked Group of Five team in my latest top 25, which you can see at PFF.com right now. John Summerall has spent almost his entire career in the Southeast, and he's currently doing very, very well in Louisiana with not a lot of resources, building a roster through recruiting and through the transfer portal with not a lot of money. So he's done a great job right now. He could explode with LSU's resources at his disposal. He feels like he's poised to be an SEC coach very, very soon at only 43 years old right now. It's the guy who actually played at Kentucky. I think he probably will be an SEC coach next year. Now the question is, what job will he take right now? Will he take the LSU job? Will he take the Florida job? Will he take the Arkansas job? If I'm him, I want the LSU job first, and I think LSU could be interested in John Summerall, who right now I think is really a rising star that we have in college football at coach. Another one from the NFL ranks, actually, that I think they could look at. There's actually a few coaches in the NFL ranks, like Kelvin Shepard, for example, the Lions defensive coordinator right now. He played at LSU. He's done a great job as the new DC for the Lions. But I want to talk about Joe Brady, the Bills offensive coordinator right now. So, LSU, in their last national title in 2019, they had plenty of superstars on that offense, namely Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and Justin Jefferson. Joe Brady was also a superstar, though, for that LSU offense in 2019. He spent 1 year at LSU, and he was the passing game coordinator and wide receivers coach in 2019. Many people credit for him for Joe Burrow and that offense's explosion that year after being, okay the year before in 2018 with basically the same personnel. They became one of the all-time great offenses in 2019, and many people credit Joe Brady for that. He won the Broyles Award that year, which is given to the best assistant coach in college football. He parlayed that year into a career in the NFL. He's currently the offensive coordinator for the Bills. The Bills have had the most efficient offense in the NFL during Joe Brady's 2 years as offensive coordinator there, 2 full years, I should say, in terms of EPA per play. Now, the problem with Joe Brady is that he seems destined very soon to be an NFL head coach, possibly this offseason too. So the question is, okay, does he want to be an NFL head coach, or would he be willing to be the LSU head coach too? This might be a job he's open to right now. I know he's been linked to the Penn State job before. I kind of feel like he would rather be an NFL head coach than the Penn State head coach. This LSU job, though, this could be a job that Joe Brady is open to coaching instead of being an NFL head coach. We'll see with him, but he's only 36 years old right now. He is a proven stud offensive mind. I think this would be a great hire for LSU if they got Joe Brady, who, like I said, should be an NFL head coach very, very soon. Another guy who I think would be open to the job is Eli Drinkwitz, the Missouri head coach right now. He's a bit like Lane Kiffin. He's a smart offensive mind in the SEC who has a very, very confident personality. Right now, a 27-7 record at Missouri over the last 3 seasons. Missouri right now is currently 6-2 and number 19 in the country. They have signed a top 25 recruiting class in each of the last 2 years. They've killed it in the portal as well. This is not a very easy place to recruit at Missouri, and Drinkwitz has done a great job right now. He could do even better in recruiting at LSU. It is a very bright offensive mind, like I said before, too. So Eli Drinkwitz, I think, would definitely be open to this job. I think if you strike out on a couple other candidates, I think Eli Drinkwitz would be a very, very good, safe option, I think, for LSU right now. Some honorable mentions that should be mentioned. I mentioned before, Kelvin Shepard, the Lions defensive coordinator who played at LSU. He could be looked at for this job. I think Jeff Brom at Louisville has done a tremendous job at Purdue and now Louisville. He, of course, is at his alma mater, though, so he might not be one to leave that job, but he's done a great job there. He's worth a call. Brent Key, another guy who's at his alma mater right now. He's done an amazing job at Georgia Tech. They probably will make the playoff this year if you look at their schedule right now, which would be an incredible accomplishment at Georgia Tech. Again, a guy who's at his alma mater. He might not be one to leave it, but LSU is a job that you can't just hang up on, right? So I think it's another guy. And one more guy who's at his alma mater right now, Kenny Dillingham, the head coach at Arizona State. I think he's another guy who, again, seems to love his time in Tempe. He went to Arizona State. He's done a great job at Arizona State, brought him to the playoff last year, won the Big 12 last year. Young offensive mind, too, which I think LSU might be open to or should be wanting. But another guy who might not be one to leave Arizona State, but another guy who, again, can't not take the call from LSU because LSU is that big of a job. But let us know in the comments below what you thought about the Brian Kelly era at LSU. How good of a job you think LSU is? Is this the best job in college football? Plenty of people think that. And also, who are some of the top candidates that LSU should be going after to be their next head coach?